Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Zac Brown Band brings its comeback tour to Merriweather Post Pavilion in Columbia, Maryland on Thursday. I spoke with the country band for a preview of the show, but first I spoke with Zac Brown himself at the 2016 Grammys on the Hill event at the Hamilton in Washington, D.C. Congrats, everybody. This is really cool. Talk to me about the importance of visual storytelling, because you listen to your songs, you can see it, it's like at a truck stop outside of Lincoln, the night's as black as the coffees you're drinking, Tell how you try to paint a picture with you guys' song.
A great writer in Nashville a long time ago gave me some advice on writing, and he said, you have to make it as descriptive as possible with as few words as possible. And so that's the goal. And being influenced by, Willie Nelson and by Dolly Parton and people that the genius is in so few words, and you already put in a setting, and you already have what's going on. You say so much with very few words if it's done the right way. So that's part of our journey as poets and as songwriters, is to try to harness that, try to capture it, and if you don't feel something or see something, then it's not a great song. Yeah. So our goal is to try to make great songs and that make you feel something,
Yeah, and how big of an honor is it tonight, and what are you guys going to try to promote while you're here on the Hill? Obviously, we live in much different times. Some people can download songs just as free as it's ever been. You guys want to get paid for this, right? So how can you... I had to weave it in there. Nice. Yeah, thanks. See how we did that?
Yeah.
No, so what sort of issues are going to promote while you're here on the Hill?
Excited to be an advocate for artist rights and producers and engineers, and the art and the dedication that it takes to do that and to create music on a really high level. Those people have to be paid somehow, and with everything shifting, if the certain corporations' lawyers are faster than the artists and the people representing us, then there's not going to be anything left. So it's just important that it's fair, and that it's not a greed-based system. And if somebody doesn't stand up for us, then we'll be victims of everyone else's capitalization. So
that's what tonight's all about. Congrats, guys. Enjoy the night.
Thanks.
Nice meeting y'all. I next hopped on the phone with bandmates Coy Bowles and Clay Cook to preview this week's show at Merriweather.
Coy Bowles, guitar, keys, and songwriting.
Clay Cook. I kind of just do whatever they need me to do outside of the important stuff.
What can we expect from the show? I know, it's called the Comeback Tour because you guys have probably been on ice for like the rest of us for like a year and a half now. But how exciting will it be to finally get back out there?
Shows have been going really good, man. It's been just kind of a real ecstatic energy to just kind of walk out on stage and get to play. So far, man, it's just been, feels so good. It's kind of really interesting to such a huge part of your life to kind of just completely stop. And then you kind of just keep, living and doing your thing because that's what's necessary. And then you get to go back to do it. And you're really like, wow, I forgot that I get to play in front of X thousands of people with these amazing songs with this amazing band. So it's, it just feels really good, man.
Yeah, you think about it, fans in the audience, they love music and they love our music, otherwise they probably wouldn't be there. But for us, it's even more intense because this is our life, to be a part of a band and to play music for people. And, all intents and purposes, we were the first thing to go away, as far as mass gatherings. And then we were kind of the last thing to come back, and so people went about their days, they did miss live music. We know, I miss live music just as a fan, but man, it's been very cathartic for us to walk out on stage again. And, there's a little tiny part of all of us, we weren't sure that would ever happen again,
Oh, yeah, and it'll be so great to see you guys live again because, there's nothing like a Zac Brown Band concert. I've seen you a couple times. Before we hop on here, we were talking about the Grammys on the Hill event. Our D.C. audiences got to see a nice intimate setting there at the Hamilton. Reflect on that really fast. It was all about licensing rights, but turned into sort of an emotional night, right?
Yeah, we never talk about the past. we're always talking about, like, what the new album's like, and just, what touring's going to be like. So we very rarely reflect on it. And I just remember that night kind of reflecting on how the story of the band got to be where it is or whatever, and just being like, wow, man, this is really emotional because we never really do this. I just remember that about that night,
Yeah,
Oh,
and
yeah.
also another piece of information, that was the last time I saw Eddie Money.
Wow, I think
so
you're right.
like, that was double double emotional at this point now in hindsight,
Yeah, you're right. He passed away shortly after that. You're entirely right. Wow. Yeah, emotional for lots of reasons. Well, you mentioned how it was sort of a treat to get to pause and reflect and think about the past at that event. So remind us how the band actually came together down in Georgia.
Yeah, so basically, Zac had been so I went to school with Zac when I was like 18, 19. And we knew each other from playing the music scene in West Georgia College.
Way back in 18, 19.
Yeah. We were 18, 19, exactly. So we would bump into each other at the bars and all that stuff, and then I moved to Atlanta and started seeing the Zac Brown Band, playing everywhere, and would go and started going and checking them out. But basically, Zac united with Jimmy, our violin player, and at the time bass player John Hopkins, and John now plays acoustic guitars and is amazing background vocals and all this other stuff. And we've obviously added members over the years, including Clay, who's about to tell his story. But anyway, I joined about a year and a half, 2 years in, so they had already recorded the Foundation. And I just remember going and seeing them not being in the band and just going and checking them out and everything and being like, this is the most professional band by far I've ever seen in Atlanta, just playing at a bar. Like, these guys sound like a real band, not just some guys like cutting up. And all they were doing was like playing covers and their own stuff and whatever. But there was just something about all the vocal harmonies being together, and, all the stuff was so together. And I was like, man, nobody's really doing this. There's so much music coming off the stage. And then shortly thereafter, I started opening up for the Zac Brown Band. And Zac asked if I would play keys and guitar with the band after my band would open up. And so I was kind of pulling double duty. And then shortly thereafter, I decided to put my band on hiatus and go with the band full time. And then that was like a rocket ship. Kind of around that same time, we went on a tour for promoting Chicken Fried on the radio, and we're gone for like, I think, 14 weeks at one point. And it was just like being strapped to a rocket and just blasted into outer space, man. And the whole thing was just like, hold on as tight as you can. And then single after single after single started coming out. Then we went and recorded another album, and then we started winning Grammys and other awards, and, recording more albums. And, and by that point, Clay had joined the band and added a big part, and he and I became really, really tight because we basically share kind of similar instruments. We'll swap back and forth on keys and guitars and things like that. And it's been a really cool ride with Clay and I because we're not really competitive at all, which is really beautiful to be in a band with somebody and share different stuff. And we play so different from each other, but yet we know exactly kind of how each other plays to where it's just all about the music, So, yeah, man. And from then on, it's just been, walking out in front of places and being like, how many people are here? How did we get to do this? Like, question mark,
Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's got to be wild when you stop and think about it. Like, how did we get here again? We're living the dream.
Yeah.
Clay, remind our listeners when you actually hooked on with the band, and, we're welcome with open arms during that meteoric rise there.
Yeah. So, I mean, they had always been a 5-piece. Even before, like, Coy had replaced another guitar player, and they had been a 5-piece for a couple of years at this point. And I feel like there was some songs where Coy would be on guitar live, but the recording had Hammond organ on it as well as guitar. And so I think Zac had said, you know what, we just need one more guy. you know, and at least for the near future.
Just want to jut in real fast. He's being very kind about how he's talking about this. Basically, we always asked Clay if he would join the band like every year, and we had not become successful enough for him to join the band yet. And then at one point we were successful, and we were like, "Do you want to join the band now?" And he was like, "Yeah, I think I'll join the band now, guys."
Well, you know, you get to a certain level in your life, and if you can't pay your mortgage playing music, you know, you've got to figure something else out. But yeah, I basically what happened was Chicken Fried was about to go number one, and Zac called me and said, I think I can afford a sixth guy now and it not mess up everybody's money, you know, because you bring in another guy, and if there's only so much pie, and then apparently at one point the pie got bigger, so it was okay to add another guy. And, you know, we're all in our 30s at this point. You know, like Coy's the youngest. And I think when I came in the band, Coy was probably turning 30. So, you know, it wasn't like we were 19 years old, you know, and because it wouldn't have worked out. It definitely wouldn't have worked out if we were all 19, 20 years old. We would all just fought each other, and that would have been it, you know. But we'd all been in bands before for years, and it came together. And honestly, I don't know. I definitely hadn't been in a band where it felt like family, like it did instantly with Zac, you know, because half of the guys were already dads, you know, and, you know, Coy and I were a little late to the game on that, but we're all dads. We're all dads. I think there's 23 kids in the band.
23. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
We figured it out.
If you ever brought him up on stage, that would fill the whole damn stage. Wow, 23.
Oh, you're
wow.
No kidding.
So you joined then. So you're saying that at least what I'm hearing here is that you were sort of holding out a little bit, and then when Chicken Fried took off, they could afford to divide the pie with one more band. So thanks to Chicken Fried. What is it about Chicken Fried? Why do you think that worked? I mean, it's that classic like Americana. You literally list all the things we love in that song, and then
it's a slice of Americana. And then also it's just a little get down jam song. Like it's people just can't help but dance when we play that, you know? Like it checks all the boxes.
Oh yeah, who doesn't want Chicken Fried and cold beer on a Friday night? Like it's all. I just love your music because it taps into like every sort of strand of country music that I personally love. So you have, you know, Chicken Fried is sort of that Americana, even like, you know, a little patriotic thing to it. I guess No Hurry is sort of in that, you know, just appreciating the roundup. But then also you've also mastered the whole Jimmy Buffett Island tune with Toes in the Water and Knee Deep. I mean, so what's the key to like creating those island tunes that make you want to just put it on while you're fishing or out on a boat?
I think it's because Zac genuinely loves the blue water. He loves getting in down somewhere in the Caribbean. I mean, he genuinely loves it. Not just like, oh, this is a nice place to vacation. And so there's that true connection that he has to loving to be out on the beach, you know. And so does Wyatt Durrett wrote a lot of those things with us in the early days, and he might love it more than Zac, to be honest. So that's what they want to write about, and it's real. It's not like, hey, let's write a beachy song. He wants to preach all these things, you know.
Yeah, for sure. When you have to hear the sort of the censored version on the radio, I got my toes in the water, toes in the sand. Does part of you say, man, can we just say ass in the sand? It's so much better when we get to say it live.
Maybe nowadays. Back then it was really risque, you know.
Yeah.
Right. Back then it was like, here's to the past, kiss my glass. You had to be careful then.
Yeah. One thing that's really interesting, if you were to ask Zac like what his favorite thing in life to do is he would probably say spearfishing. Like he absolutely loves going, you know, like kind of snorkeling and diving and stuff like that for fish and whatnot. I mean, that's just like he loves it, man. So like Clay was saying, it's really interesting because it seems like, you know, we have one or two of those type songs on a lot of the albums and things of that nature. But I think, you know, we all kind of grew up going to the beach for vacation, you know, especially being in Atlanta or in Georgia. and the Gulf is pretty near. So going to like Panama City or something like that was just kind of part of Southern living. And also, you know, when there's the classic, when you can't go to the beach and when you're younger and you don't have enough money, you basically get on your uncle's pontoon boat or whatever and act like you're on the beach, but you're really on the lake, kind of thing.
Right.
So everybody kind of grew up with that whole water life kind of thing. I mean, I know I'm a river rat. I grew up in a town where everybody goes on the river. So, and you play these type of songs while you're on the river, you know, that are about like hanging out on the beach or whatever else, you know.
Oh, yeah, you get on,
my
wife and I loved it. You get on an inner tube, you go down for a little river ride, and is it a PBR on the way? Are you guys PBR drinkers?
Oh, yeah, I'll drink a PBR.
Yeah, I'm a little less beer these days. I'll enjoy a mixed drink from time to time. The guys make fun of me.
What was the name that we called you?
Cosmo Crab Chip.
Cosmo Crab Chip.
Being in Maryland, I love the Utz Maryland potato chips.
Like
the
old
Maryland crab chip. Yeah.
Hey, man, I'm in Maryland right now, born and raised. Yeah, crabs in the summer. I mean, this might have even been before Foundation even came out. It might have still been on like MySpace or something. This is how far back my buddy Ryan Ruffner got your stuff on MySpace, and we would play that and pick crabs and go to the beach. Like it's all wrapped into one. Your music and a PBR and crabs. Thanks for just being the soundtrack of all of our lives. But yeah, so you know you've done the beach songs, you did the Americana chicken fried songs, but then I've also really noticed another through line where you guys are great at those road songs, like driving songs, like Highway 20 Ride or Just as Free as I Ever Be, and that or something a little more bittersweet like a Colder Weather. When you're painting those pictures visually with visual storytelling out on the road, I always think of lines like "The night is black as the coffee he's drinking." I mean, that just puts us right on that truck stop, on that diner outside of Lincoln. It just puts us in that moment. And how important is visual storytelling like that when you're talking about being out on the road?
Well, it's something that you try to, because a lot of people don't travel nearly as much as we do, and a lot of people don't live this life of being on a tour bus all the time, you know. So you try to relay this whole idea of, kind of yearning for home, yearning for some kind of solid foundation, but yet always being pulled out by this other part of your life. So there's a deep duality to what we do. You know, we want our families, we want home, we want stability, but then we're kind of like gypsies where we got to go and, ride the roads and play the music and tell our tale and, and inspire people and heal people with music and all this. And then, and then you start missing your family again. And, so I think the most important thing that we try to do is in those songs is kind of relay this sense of like, we're never settled, man. Like it's not that we're not happy, because I'm happy when I'm home. I'm happy when I'm on the road. But like, when you're at home for too long, you start really missing doing what it is that you were born to do, which is play music, And then when you're out on the road for too long, you start really missing, what you were born to do as well, which is be a husband and a father, So I think personally that's the key to all of that is trying to explain to people, that there's this kind of there's this need to want to do both,
Yeah, you got to find. I guess it's all about a balance, and like you're saying, yeah, you're in one place, you miss being on the road, and then literally probably the second you're out there, like, first gig, you're like, man, I miss home. Isn't that the funny thing about life, man? Sounds like you guys have, with 23 kids, I think you've struck the balance.
Yeah, definitely. Well, since the very beginning, it's always been important for us to be with our kids, and so with the success, we've had the luxury of being able to afford to fly back home for 3 or 4 days and then fly back out or bus back and forth. So, we've always made time pretty much to not be out on the road too long and to come back. So we're very fortunate in that fact because there's, some other bands who, really they can't do that. And so they go out for a month at a time and things of that nature. So that's probably one of the things that I'm most thankful for is that there's kind of a built-in balance between family and playing that's really solid with us. We get 3 or 4 days of playing music, 3 or 4 days of being at home, and then we go and do it all over again. So it feels good, man.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you capture it in the songs perfectly. I mean, I mean, we mentioned Colder Weather, and I personally think that song's like a masterpiece. But that's like a bittersweet heart tugger. But then on the flip side, you guys can also do love songs or romantic songs that are more upbeat too. Like, you know, you got Whatever It Is. I mean, that's a love song, but it's upbeat as hell. Or Keep Me in Mind. That's playful and romantic. Or As She's Walking Away. I mean, with Alan Jackson, they're love songs in a way. But how cool is it that you have a whole set of sort of upbeat love songs where people can appreciate the romances in their life, but maybe it's not always a downer, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that just shows it just kind of shows you the breadth that can have with the type of songwriting, you know, like it's, and you know, we're no fools. We know that it's, you know, you can't have 80% sleepy songs during a set. And so you kind of try to find a way to make them up tempo. And if it doesn't sound stupid, you know, with the sentiment, you can make a sappy song sound fun and up tempo, you know, and you know, that's just kind of we a lot of times we're trying to write songs that we want to play live, you know, and or make the songs that we've already written. If you've written a sleepy love song, try to make it more exciting, you know. So if it does become a hit, if you're lucky enough for it to become a hit, you can put it in the set and it's not a whole night of sleepy tunes, you know?
I love that. You say you're taking sleepy, sappy songs lyrically. You know, if you look at them on the page, it could be a sleepy song, but the way it's arranged and everything, it's a concert jam. So yeah, that's kind of cool. You guys had the foresight to think about how it plays at the concert. Well, before we run, you know, we've heard a lot about both of your stories, but since Zac's not here, talk about what makes him such a great, you know, band leader.
I mean, for me personally, I've been hanging out and listening to Zac sing since I was like 18, 19 years old. And he is the kind of dude, when he starts talking about something that he is really passionate about or something that's really affected him, that like his voice will change and it'll like quiver. And you can tell like his emotions are pretty on the surface, you know. He doesn't fly off the handle or anything like that, but you know, it's like when he starts talking about something that's near and dear to his heart, like if he starts talking about his kids or something like that, you'll see his voice change and his eyes will like kind of, you know, well up a little bit kind of thing, you know. And I really think that because he emotionally stands at this place to where he feels things really deeply and kind of in the moment, that you just believe him when he sings, man. And it's been like that since he was 19 years old. I remember him playing like, you know, a Sean Mullins tune or what's the guy that you played with recently, Clay? McCain?
Edwin McCain.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Edwin McCain. He'd play one of those tunes when we were in college, man, and you were just like, God, this guy is slaying it, man. And I think that that's the quintessential thing to why it all works, because you can have the most awesome group of guys behind you, family-oriented, everything, and if the lead singer is not believable, then it just doesn't sell, and it's not going to become successful. But for some reason, man, when Zac sings, there's a tone of his voice and this feeling that you're like, man, this guy really means this. And then back it all up with amazing harmonies and musicianship and great songs and everything else, and that's kind of the recipe. But without that part of it, I think that that's the quintessential thing to me. And Zac's a really giving guy. I mean, I've learned so much from him as far as like what it's like to put other people first when it comes to, you know, the stuff he's done with the Camp Southern Ground and creating an atmosphere for kids to be able to grow and learn and all that stuff. So he's a very giving guy, and as far as giving back, and wants to leave this legacy of not just being known for music, but also being known for his kindness and you know, awareness of giving back to kids specifically. So I've learned a lot from him from that. But as far as the music goes, man, to me personally, it has to do with just him being believable. You know, the guy exudes emotion when he sings.
He's a really great dad too. Just a fantastic dad. Just, I mean, it's kind of, before I had kids, he'd already had 3 or 4. No, actually, I think he had all 5 kids by the time I had my first kid. And I look at that in the way he was with his kids, and I'm like, man, that's what I want a connection like that, you know. And he's just, and it'll never change. That's just who he is. Same thing with the being genuine, like that's just who he is, and you can set your watch by it,
Oh, that's great. You can set your watch. Well, everybody, set your watches for Thursday, August 19th. Gates open at 5:30, show at 6:45 at Merriweather. It's going to be great to see you guys back out on the road. You guys have been great. I really appreciate it, picking your brains.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks
Yeah,
for having
man, I think that the music that we're about to release coming up might possibly be one of the best, if not the best albums that we've ever done. So that's another thing that's really exciting about like this kind of fact that we've been at home for so long and we're back out on the road is we're playing some of these new songs and this new album is getting ready to be released and all that stuff. And it's really, really, really good, man. So everybody who's a fan of the band and has been for a while, it feels good to be at a place to where, we're still giving them what we think is our best,
Great. And so this show at Merriweather, they're going to a sneak peek at those as well as all the hits.
Yeah.
Is there a particular song from the new album that you can't wait for us to hear the most?
I mean, Same Boat's pretty great. It really, and there's the reason that was the first one we tapped to put out,
Same Boat.
Yeah.
Yes. Boat is a very great tune for what everybody's been going through with the current environment of the pandemic and whatever. It's like just kind of realizing that whatever's going on, man, we're all in this. I guess to me, I think the same boat is same world. Like you can't get off of this planet just yet. So we're all in this together, no matter what. And it feels good to think like that. So.
Wow, I think that's the perfect place to leave it. So, yeah, everybody, we're all in the same boat. We've been in the same boat. We'll continue to be in the same boat. We'll get through it together. I love that's the message of the song. I really appreciate that, guys. All right, Zac Brown Band. Thanks, guys.
All right,
sure, bud. Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us on Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Remember to hit the subscribe button and give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time. I wanted to take a second to tell you about an app I really enjoy. Living in the D.C. area is great, and Podcast DC gathers all of the local shows that I like all in one local app. Health, sports, local news, politics, and so much more. Podcast DC is the new local app with hundreds of D.C. area podcasts to choose from. I can earn exciting rewards just for listening and share the podcasts I love instantly. Available in the App Store or in Google Play, listen local with Podcast DC.